Hello everyone, welcome to another Blender tutorial. Today we are going to be doing the second part to the how to create a Trap Nation style audio visualizer. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Okay, so let's delete the default cube first of all. And the first thing we're going to do is add in 3 circles, because if you've seen that audio visualizer, you'll notice that there's 3 different colors and it looks like 3 different rings. So let's go ahead and go into front view. Let's set the camera to an orthographic view so it's facing straight on towards the y-axis. So let's go back into front view. I just changed the view to the side a bit. So let's make sure we have the camera selected. Press Ctrl-Alt-0 on the keyboard, and now we have the camera set straight on the y-axis. Okay, so let's add in those 3 different circles. Each of these circles is going to be a different color. Let's go to Mesh Circle. Let's go ahead and rotate this after. We're not going to rotate it yet. Let's rotate it after we've changed the fill type to Ngon. And let's go ahead and rotate this 90 degrees. And let's change the color. Let's set the color. So we need to add a new material and then select the surface type. Let's select emission. Let's change this to 5, the strength. Let's change that to 5. And I'm going to use a green color. That's the color that I originally used in my actual audio visualizer. And let's go to the settings, this little drop down arrow here, and let's change the viewport color to the same one so that we can actually see it in the viewport. The same one as the actual color when you render it. I'm going to make sure the screencast keys are on. Okay, let's scale this up just a bit. Now let's duplicate it. And let's place this next circle in front of the other circle. And then let's duplicate it again, move it up, and scale it down so that they're all sort of in a sequence. And let's change the material for each one. I'm going to make the second one blue. So let's select this number right here. This will just copy the material. And let's change this to blue. Let's change the viewport color to the same one as that one. And let's make this first one a white color. So we can also, the way we can do that is just by color picking this right here. It's like a little sample. It says sample a data block. So we can sample one of these colors and just take it straight from the white color. So there we go. I forgot to copy this one. That's why it made the other one the same. Let's just copy it. Press the number 2. So now it'll be the white color. And then let's change this one back to the green color. Just like that. And then change the viewport color as well. And there we go. We have 3 different colors. And I think I'll move them a little bit closer because we will be using modifiers, and it'll probably help. I know it will help to be closer to the actual control objects, because we're going to be using control objects to control these different circles. So let's go back into the front view. Let's take a look at this. Okay, that looks good. So let's move the camera in just a bit so it's not so far away. It's closer like that. And I think that's good. So now we just need to add in the modifiers for each of these objects. We need to add a cast modifier to each of these. But first, before we do that, I want to go ahead and smooth each of these circles. Select each of them, and let's select a subdivision surface to smooth these. Just apply it to all of them. And let's add a cast modifier to each of these. Select each one and add a cast modifier. You can also do it faster by just selecting the ones that have the modifier, selecting the other one, and then make sure you have the other one selected, and then link. You press Ctrl-L on the keyboard, as you can see in the corner there. Select modifiers, and now it linked the modifiers. It copies the same modifiers to this object. So there we go. we have cast modifiers added to all of these now, and they're all smooth. They're all looking nice. So now we just need a control object to control these and actually make them move and animate. So, as you can see here, the cast type, you can select cuboid, cylinder, and sphere, and they all do what they sound like. So they're already saying what they do by having them by their names. Like cuboid, it makes a cube type shape when it moves, and then cylinder makes cylinder type of shape, and then sphere makes kind of like a bubble looking shape. So we're not going to be casting it on the z-axis, so let's take off z-axis. I'm pretty sure we're not going to be using that. So now we just need to add in our control objects. So let's add in 2 cubes. Let's add in this cube. Let's move it over to the side. You can even add in empty, that'll work. Let's add in this, duplicate it, and we'll have 2 objects now. And okay, so now that we've duplicated them, we can go ahead and select our control object. So first of all, let's select the first one, and let's make this one the cube 1 for this one. Let's make that the cast object for that one, cube 1. And now we can just experiment with this, and if you move this, it actually animates the first circle. So let's change this from radius. Let's turn that off. And as you can see, it's moving the entire thing, and that is also because of the factor. If we turn the factor down, it won't move so much. If we turn it up, it moves a lot of it. So we want to set this to something lower. But we can also disable the movement of the centerpiece by creating a vertex group, which I think we'll do now. It's a good idea to do. Okay, so we first of all need to extrude this, scale it in to the center. And let's extrude, add in a edge loop and scale it out to the edges to make it bigger. And there we go. It may look really weird like this, but if you go into the rendered mode, you can see that it's not affecting it in the rendered view at all. So if you move this, you can see it moves the object, but it's still moving the center, which we don't want it to do. So we need to isolate the area that we want to move. So let's add in edge loops, and let's just isolate this edge, the very edge right there, the edges. So that we're going to do that, let's just add in a vertex group. So we need to add in a vertex group and select the vertices that we want. I think there's a face that's overlapping. That's probably why it's doing that. So let's delete this face, if you found the face, which I think it's on the other side. Yes. So we just delete faces. Make sure you have face selected. And now we deleted that face that we didn't even need, and it's fixed the problem. So let's select this edge loop around the edge. Let's assign it to this group. And now what we can do is isolate that and use it to our advantage on the cast modifier. And now it should only move the edges and not the center. Let's go ahead and try making a group for the centerpiece. See what that does. Like this. Let's add in a vertex group, assign it, and select it. To select it in the modifier. So now it looks like it will only move. It doesn't do anything. Okay, so we'll just use the other area, and we don't really need to select the Y location. So let's just keep it X and Y. Let's select those. And we can add a few cast modifiers. So let's add another cast modifier and then add the other object. And it can move in a different direction. You can create the motion up or down so that it moves a certain area of this circle. And let's set this to cuboid. And let's turn down the factor. And maybe turn up the size just a bit. And let's select the control object. Let's select, let's see which one. Let's select the cube. Select cube. Ah, keep selecting the wrong one. There we go. Okay. Now we have cube selected. Let's turn up the factor. It's not doing anything. Okay, so let's set this to cylinder, actually. I think that'll be a good one to set it to. And we need to change the settings here, so let's change the settings to 0.85 on the factor. And let's see. We need to change the radius to something like 0.55 so that it'll only move a certain area. And then let's change the size to something lower, maybe like 0.45. That's what I set it to on mine, my original audio visualizer. And that is pretty much it. We can turn off from radius. And yeah. So now it should animate without the center moving. It'll just move a certain area. You can try different types, like sphere or cylinder. Make sure this is set to smooth. Move this subsurface modifier below it so that it's smooth first, and then the cast modifiers up above it. Okay. Let's go ahead and add in another cast modifier. Let's put that below this cast modifier. And let's set the settings to 0.6 on this one. And let's select the other object, which is cube 1. This one right here. Oh wait, no, it's actually cube. Yeah, it's cube. Select cube. Okay. Now let's change the size to 0.6. Let's turn off Z and Y. Now I can animate different locations. And to leave from radius on. And let's change this to cylinder to give it a cylindrical shape. And let's just change this, set the group, the vertex group, so it only moves the vertex group or the area around the edges instead of the whole entire thing. So now we can animate this object and it'll start coming out like that in different areas. Okay. Now let's go ahead and add in a warp modifier for this same object. Let's add in a warp modifier. And then we're going to add in two different objects that we'll be using with the warp modifier. So let's select this first circle, press Shift S on the keyboard, select cursor to selected. And then let's add in one cube right here. This will be the from object. So from this one to another object. And we'll be animating the other object, not this one right here. So let's add in the other one. The other one will be onto the side. Or it could be over here somewhere. and then we'll make the from object cube 2, and then the to object will make cube 3. We'll set that to cube 3. So now wherever this moves, it will warp the other object. So now let's select preserve volume, and that will just preserve the volume of the object. And then we can select the fall off type, which I selected sharp on mine, the original. So it'll move like that, that. Okay, so that is pretty much it. That's all you do for this one. Now all we have to do is add it to these, and the way that we'll do that is just by applying the modifiers from this one to these. So we just select these first, and then select this one. Press Ctrl L, and then select modifiers, and now I added all of those modifiers to this object, to these objects. Let's move this back. I can move it back just a bit if we want to. I think we'll just leave it there after all, actually. Move these closer in. And these don't have the same vertex group, so we can just turn these off. Turn off the group vertex. And we can go ahead and animate this now. And it'll animate these objects. So we can animate this like this, or like this. Let's go ahead and animate this one first. Let's press I on the keyboard, location, rotation, and let's open up the graph editor. Let's go in here, and let's make sure we have that object selected. And let's set the, let's go ahead and set the Y location, or maybe the Z location. Let's try that. Let's use the bake sound F curves, and then select your music. Go ahead and go find the music that I want. I'm going to use this one, bake sound F curves, and now it should move to the music. Let's go ahead and do it again, bake sound F curves. Let's set it to a certain frequency. I'm going to set mine to 250 to 500. And then bake sound F curves. And now it should bake to the F curves. It starts moving. Let's set this to something like 2000. And then let's go ahead and animate this as well. Let's animate this to the up, and let's animate it on the Z location and as well also the X location. Let's press I, location, rotation. And first of all, let's do the Z location. Let's set the base. So let's go somewhere, let's just keep it 250 to 500. Leave it in that area. Bake sound F curves. And now it should animate to the music. Like that. And then let's animate it on the X location. Select the X location. And let's select bake sound F curves. Let's just bake the same music. Let's set the frequency a little bit higher. Something like 300 to 1000. Maybe 500 actually. 500 to 1000. Let's see how that looks. It's not doing too much so far. If we need to, we can even move the objects over so that they'll animate a different way. So we can just move them over if we want to. We can even change these settings. This is set to cylinder. This is set to cylinder. That's cuboid. I can set this to cuboid as well. And then this one too. And then we can make this animate as well. We can make it animate to the side or up and down. Or we could even make this one animate if we wanted to. And there we go. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. Everything. I hope to release more tutorials, and I'm planning on a bunch of tutorials. So many people are requesting, and it's great. So I will see you guys on the next tutorial.